Hey, what is up guys, Marcy here, back to do another Kane draft video. I'm going to commentate over this particular match here. I've got a couple really good games that I've been playing on R20. This is the test version of R20. I have not yet released it. These test games are important for me to determine if it's in a ready state for releasing, because I don't want to release something that may have a crash in it, which, to be honest, there wasn't very much. Considering the 100+ things that were done, there hasn't been any crashes besides with the Steel Talons railgun upgrade, which I have fixed. So that's really the only issue, and that has been fixed. Besides that, the patch is as stable as R19, maybe even more so. So I can't wait for that to be released. I probably will make a video for that. May not be exactly on the anniversary. I did originally plan for it to release on the anniversary, but I do have some real life commitments at the moment, so I probably won't get that released until the weekend. I'll try my best to get that released. I really had plans for doing a really good video for releasing R20, showcasing everything in it. I may actually do that in the end, but yeah, that's going to be really fun to make a montage video of everything that has been done. So expect that to be on the launch of the R20 patch. You'll see a video on my channel pop up. That's when the patch has been released. It'll be on command post. It'll be on my mega link as well. Of course, you don't actually need command post to get R20 because I did installers for it. You will have to most likely update your 4K mod. Now, I do have something in the installer which detects if you have an old 4K mod installed to update the existing one. But it does have the tendency, I think, to trigger antivirus software. So I probably will have to remove that until you guys just manually update the 4K mod by re-downloading the update. So that will occur on the same day. So I just want to get that out of the way because it's really important information prior to this launch, which is going to be pretty big because there'll be a lot of downloads. At the moment, it's just a couple of us playing it. Bike Crush, myself, Phoenix. I had some really good games versus Phoenix. And this is Dirty Dutch I'm playing, so Dirty Dutch as well, a player from the past. And of course, Steel Talons are going to be making a great appearance in R20 with their changes. Of course, you can read away at the change list, which I will provide down below in the video description, as I always do. I did make it more readable since the last video, so now it's the only thing that's missing now is I have to categorize it for the factions and global changes, but that will come eventually. Of course, I am doing everything myself here. I'm not getting much help at all for most things. The hostile negotiator has been very helpful when I have had issues, like if I can't resolve something, I usually just PM him and he'll give me some suggestions, which has been really helpful. Now, that was a change you just saw there with the barracks where the missile squad was controllable much sooner. You didn't have to travel nearly as far out of that barracks before it became a controllable unit. So I was able to get that inside of the MRT. Now I've got an MRT and a Titan. I'm doing my rig push, but I'm not sure if this is going to work out so good for me because I'm not building a rig. That's the thing, right? The big rig rush only works with a rig, but the MRT, I mean, my thinking here was, what's the point of building a rig if the MRT essentially does the same thing? It can repair vehicles just as the Titan can. I've got these riflemen as well, but I'm building missile squads behind this so I can put them inside of these garrisonable structures because this is Tournament Dust Bowl. A lot of garrisons in the middle of the map to garrison. I've got those orcas on the right hand side, hoping to distract Dirty Dutch with his bike buggy force in the middle while I go for his harvesters on the right hand side. He has not yet scouted the orcas, so these orcas may get some damage off. I'm going to fly them in here. I'm going to drop the sensor pods. Sensor pods can't be dropped on Tiberium anymore. You can no longer drop them on enemy buildings or Tiberium, but I can put them on the terrain. I didn't research them in this case, but yeah, it's not a bug. I deliberately removed the ability for sensor pods to be put on structures of your opponent and Tiberium. Of course, you can still put them on your own structures, but not your opponent's structures because he doesn't have a means of removing them unless he sells his building off, which is not very fair at all. And Tiberium, what can I say? You have to harvest the crystal before you can actually remove that pod, so let's not do that. Now, what did GDI get in return for this sensor pod change? Well, sensor pods now drop half. The delay has been halved, so it's going to take much less time before that sensor pod drops from the Orca. That's the trade-off there. And I think it was worth it. It's going to help Steel Talons and Zocom against those stealth tank tactics, which are being traditionally very oppressive. I feel Mammoth tanks with that turret rotation speed combined with the sensor pods will give Zocom and Steel Talons better tools to deal with stealth tanks. Even those mortar pipples with the mortars not dealing friendly damage can help versus stealth tanks. But yeah, I expect again to see Steel Talons have a great showing in this patch with those Mammoth tanks, with the numerous other changes like the Titans collision box has been changed. Titans can actually get into a tighter formation now because they don't occupy nearly as much space as they used to. In the game's view, the unit still looks the same visually, but you can have them in a tighter formation. That's the easiest way of me explaining it, because they before consumed way too much space, like 3 times the area of a tripod, which is silly because Titan's a tier 1 unit. Why the hell is it why is it that big? At least the geometry of the game was like that. So flame tank's moving in. I'm going to go ahead and swipe at this flame tank. Just want it out of the way so I can garrison these buildings up with these missiles. I'm going to go into that full health structure. And if he chose to pursue those orcas, he would have lost a lot of those bikes on the retreat. So that was actually a good play by me. I also made a V35 Ox, which is something I have been doing in the past. And I still can like to do it to this day. It gives me very good vision. I can see the map with that ability. And there you can see the sensor pod does just get dropped there with much less delay. I'm going to start focusing down these harvesters. I'm only going to get 1 harvester for my trouble. There's an attack coming over on the left hand side. That V35 Ox gave me really advanced warning. I've got the Mammoth tank as well. I've got this surveyor which I lifted up with a transport. The buggy's moving in first just to clean up that infantry, and then the bikes will probably swipe in and kill the Titans. Only 1 Mammoth tank, but with those rockets and turret, maybe I can make something work with this Mammoth tank, especially if he doesn't decide to focus it down. There is a guiding cannon there for good measure. Anyway, got this Mammoth tank moving in. Harvesters getting splashed, 3 harvesters getting splashed there, as well as a tib vein coming down. 4 harvesters fall for me. I've lost all but 3 of my harvesters. That was a crazy good attack by Dirty Dutch. He did crippling damage. I've got 2 Mav tanks. Marv is trying to be built, but I'm not refining any Tiberium, and Dutch is just going to go in and home into these harvesters. Tib vein going on that tib field, also destroying many of the crystals. Mav tank cleaning up the rest of these raider buggies. That's one thing about Dutch that a lot of players don't do anymore, and that is suicide in for the harvesters, and I think it's worth it. Dutch knows when to do it and when not to do it, and that was something that makes him especially lethal. So yeah, you can see I'm pretty much, I'm dead now. Dutch, he lost only 1 or 2 harvesters to my orcas, and he pretty much destroyed my whole harvester line with those bikes. So yeah, he's really much in the lead, especially now because he's building those stealth tanks. I've got the orcas out. I can start putting sensor pods on these Mav tanks, as I mentioned in the previous part of this game. So yeah, I'm going to start doing that now. These Mav tanks are going to be my response to the stealth tanks. I'm going to put a sensor pod on this Mammoth, and now that's going to be able to engage a stealth tank and one-shot it. Going to give me good coverage against stealth tanks having these 2 Mav tanks. Plus I got this Marv which I'm going to send over to the right hand side to harvest that Tiberium field. Mav tank killing that 1 stealth tank immediately, but it will be overwhelmed by those other 2. Now that stealth tank is very damaged, so it's going to reveal itself. Stealth tanks do unstealth when they have taken critical damage, so I'm going to be able to kill that one off with a watchtower. That MCV won't be falling to that stealth tank, but he may get it if he has something like a vapor bomb. Attack coming in here for me. I've got those Titans, just a couple of infantry and a Titan. I might get the tier 2. Not a big deal though. He doesn't really need the tier 2. You can build beam cannons and flame tanks. Aside from that, there's not really much point of having it. Just typical Stangs can deal with aircraft. I've got orcas out, but I haven't actually, I've lost all my orcas. So even if I rebuild those, it's going to be very hard to make them work. They're going to be good though for the sensor pods still. I don't have one on my Marv. Would be worth building another one just to put one on the Marv. Mav tank pops out of this war factory, and I've got a good idea of where this stealth tank is going. I'm going to pursue that one down. Stealth tanks, of course, a real menace for Steel Talons. And you're going to see here the fix with the Marv where it now consistently harvests Tiberium crystals before it would skip and ignore many of the crystals that it ran over. And that was a bug. That has been fixed, so the Marv now works as intended. I did actually nerf the radius that the Marv can harvest Tiberium underneath itself. So despite the fix, it has been nerfed to compensate for that. So it's not strictly a buff for the Marv. It's better tweaking stats around fixes, because I know that bug fixes do affect balance. Anyone that says otherwise doesn't know what they're talking about. But yeah, bug fixes usually, most of the time, is a balance change as well, because that does impact balance. Like for instance, that hexapod, when it's generating resources for every kill around itself, and before it did not, that's clearly a balance change, because it just is getting money now. So I had to do that thing with the teleportation, with its self-teleport, to offset that buff that the hexapod got. Big attack coming in here for Dirty Dutch. I got this Marv on the right hand side. I decided to go for his base with this Marv. I don't have anything really in that Marv garrisoned. Got some Wolverines queuing as well, focusing on getting railguns, but I don't know if I have the time nor the necessity of getting this railgun upgrade. That V35 Ox still going around the map, and I'm expecting a big attack in my base. I've got 3 harvesters there. My eco is not doing well. I do have an expansion on the left. My refinery is actually a little bit back, which is beneficial in this case, because it's going to allow my harvesters to unload more safely in the main fight. No shockwave artillery for me. I don't have a space command uplink. There's a big infantry force coming into my base, and I don't have ample anti-infantry. These Wolverines are getting cleared up immediately, and no AP ammo. So I don't have AP ammo versus this upgraded infantry force. Harvesters will be forced to pull back. I'm no longer refining any Tiberium. Orca's getting destroyed, and now this army is just pushing in. I don't have very much to combat it. I'm putting watchtowers behind this MCV, but ever since R19, those fences aren't super broken. I can punch through. He can punch through that fence very quickly. Phoenix is now sending me messages in Discord. What does he have to say? Harvester bug, probably rare. Yeah. I am going to attempt to fix the refinery / harvester bug. The Nod harvester is significantly less buggy now. Never bugs when it's docking, but the GDI one still exhibits it. I'm hoping to fix that in the final release of R19. R20, I do have a proposed fix for that. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but at least I attempted it. The Nod one is already better than it was, statistically, because we've had like over 200 hours of games from all the players, and we haven't really seen any bug from the Nod harvester. GDI 1 of course is a little bit trickier, but I should be able to overcome that in the end. So yeah, Dutch secures that very well. There might have a little bit of lag in my recording. I realized after this stream that I was recording with NVENC and also streaming with NVENC. I wasn't using my CPU for the stream, so recording in 4K as well as streaming with the same encoder was a little bit tricky, but yeah, it's still going to be smooth enough to watch. It shouldn't be too bad. Of course, the preview of my video editor may look a little bit laggy, but not the case. I do actually record voice over these games in my video editor. Marv there. It's not a garrisoned up Marv, it only has a grenadier in it. Speaking of grenadiers, they have slightly more splash damage than they used to have. The damage is not increased, but because there's a thing called taper off damage, where the damage gets gradually worse from the center of the projectile, that means that when you increase the area of effect or the splash damage, the damage is indirectly buffed as a result of that in some cases. Of course, against structures that's not the case, because you're doing 100% of the damage all the time. So yeah, I've got these hammerheads here. EMP, you can see the grenade model behind that command post. So I've got the EMP grenades. In the end, it didn't really matter. I didn't have any EMP grenades to make use of that. And I've got just this Marv versus this huge army of units. How can I possibly do it from here? Looks like I'm dead. I've got 2 orcas and a Marv with 1 grenadier in it. This huge army here for Dutch. He's spamming infantry. He's got 3 avatars. Tiberium core missiles as well. He's got everything he needs to take this game, and there's nothing really I can do at this point. I'm going to start putting some infantry in this map. I was thinking, what options do I have? I've got a grenadier, I've got a rifleman, I've got, I guess, another rifleman. I don't know. I put everything I could in that map from the buildings I had garrisoned up in the middle. I've got 6 hammerheads, which I'm hoping to thin out this infantry force. This Marv is moving through though, no repairs on it, no engineers. And you can see the Marv has a triple rotating barrel now, as it used to be in the concept art and the cinematic of the game. That was not me who implemented that, but I'm very thankful for it. Hostile Negotiator, fellow modder, did provide that for me to use in the R20 patch, so a big thank you to him. And you're going to see it now in all its glory, all these rocket squads engaging these hammerheads. I have a Marv, but he's going to quickly focus that down unless I move my Marv forwards, and then I can maybe crush or make these avatars pull back as they're doing here. Marv pushing through. Those avatars will stop and shoot again. Marv taking damage. Rocket squads very low in numbers. Marv at half health. I don't have anything else really. One hammerhead to reinforce. There's some bikes coming out here as well with Tiberium core. Those will do a lot of damage. I've got a sensor pod on this Marv so I can detect any stealth units that he has. There's a raider buggy there, but that doesn't have EMP coils. This Marv is focusing on what it can. The 2 avatars are still alive. Marv taking critical damage. It's now in that really damaged state. Dutch still has full eco up here. A barracks and a war factory. He can put down laser turrets. Hammerhead's getting destroyed by that tip core. Marv on low health. If Dutch gets some more infantry out, he can deal with this Marv, but with that missiles, with that rifle and grenadier hardpoint, it's going to be very difficult because I'm in close-in range here. I'm just going to quickly focus on this Hand of Nod, and that's going to go down. And now Dutch is starting to drop Hand of Nods onto this Marv because that does deal damage. The damage is actually pretty high. He can kill this Marv if he continues to sell Hand of Nods on top of it. And that last missile from the Marv will kill that bike. Of course, every piece of damage that this Marv takes cannot recover. The game basically depends on this Marv living, but it looks like it will come through. Dutch still refining Tiberium. I limited his production there by killing that war factory. A laser turret comes down. This Marv is just pushing through. Rockets being produced. There's some bikes back there as well. Marv goes elite, and now it's going to be even trickier because even though it hasn't repaired itself, the veterancy that it's been granted will give it more health technically. So it has repaired some of its health back just due to the fact that it gets more health with that veterancy rank. And I will take that game there with the Marv on its own with some hammerheads to support after losing my foothold on the left hand side. I thought that was a really good game and one that I wanted to showcase for R20. I do have more matches to come, guys, so don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already so you don't miss any of the upcoming action. And I'm going to end it here. So thank you very much, guys. Thank you again to everyone who has been waiting patiently for me to upload videos. A big thank you to my patrons for continuing to stay devoted to my channel and my projects. Without your support, then R20 wouldn't have been possible. It's been a very ambitious patch, and staying motivated while doing it was challenging. So I appreciate all the support that I have been getting, and I want to thank you all for that. Anyways, guys, this is me, Master Leaf. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.